Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update. And where did this news come from? Avatar The Last Airbender is being reborn as a live-action Netflix series. What? Like, let's go through it. Let's get the details first. Then I'll give you my thoughts. So, this is a piece of concept art that we have for the reboot. That's what they're calling it. Actually, they're calling it a reboot. I think it's just meant to be an adaptation. I don't know why they're specifically using the word reborn and reboot, and that almost suggests that like this is some new continuity they're doing, which I suppose is technically the way you have to interpret it. So yeah. Yeah, all new live action series. First piece of concept art from the reboot. Netflix announced that Last Airbender's co-creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko are both signed on to oversee the show, something they've been planning on for ages. In a public statement, DiMartino and Konietzko expressed that their excitement about the upcoming show and made it a point of saying this incarnation of Aang's story will star characters of color, unlike M. Night Shyamalan's much maligned 2010 The Last Airbender. We're thrilled for this opportunity to help live action adaptation. We can't wait to realize Aang's world as cinematically as we always imagined it to be. Culturally appropriate, non-whitewash cast. Once in a lifetime chance to build everyone's great work. Yeah, they're saying a whole lot of nothing there. Excuse me if I'm being a bit dismissive there. It's just they literally, there's no substance whatsoever there to what they have to say. Yeah, that's it. The announcement is basically a piece of concept art and that there's a live action show. So let's discuss this now. What does this mean? I think the one thing I want to make in terms of a positive is that with everything happening, things are looking good for Avatar. There's a lot of stuff happening. Avatar comics, core comics, the new novels that are being announced. It looks like there's a little bit of a kind of slight influx of new merchandise. And now this is actually a pretty notable thing. Even if I think a lot of people are not going to care about this thing whatsoever, it is a notable and big thing. Just Avatar plus Netflix is fairly meaningful, but I think the biggest thing in all of this is that it is just an adaptation. They're going to be telling Aang's story. That's why you have Aang and Appa there in the picture, and to me, it's not all that interesting. We know that story. It's perfectly told in Avatar The Last Airbender, the animated show. I don't need to see that story again in live action, and while, like, look, I get creatively from Mike and Brian, this is like a really cool opportunity to get like this big budget thing, because in a way, you know, live action stuff tends to be a little bit more well respected than you know, animation. Obviously I don't particularly agree with that, but you know, that tends to be like the prevailing thought. This is a way to potentially bring more people into Avatar if it's just as good as the show. So this could be very good. I would just prefer, if they were doing a live action series set in the Avatar world, that they tell a unique story. I don't think they need to constantly rely on that ATLA story. It's told already. Go multimedia with this. You're telling different stories in the comics and now in the novels. Use the live action to tell something different, because the immediate problem you're going to have here is that this is always going to be compared back to the animation. Regardless of how well done it is, stuff is going to be missing. It'd be interesting to see if they added anything in here, and to see exactly what the scope and idea is really for this. But for the most part, like, I'm not like crazy excited for this. I would hope that potentially this means that, like, when they decide to maybe do animation again, this potentially leads to that partnership with Netflix. That thing that people have wanted for so long, third series, could happen through Netflix. In that, again, Mike and Brian are in an overseeing role, which is basically the role they play in the comics, where like they're involved to a degree, but not the main people involved. So, you know, there's not a lot to say in terms of like details on this, but yeah, reaction to just there's a live action Netflix series is just like, like I said, if cool in that this suddenly is going to get a lot of attention on the franchise again, and potentially if it is a success, I feel they more or less have to do another series, and it feels like we're maybe on that track again, hopefully. In that, I think just that's the prevailing thought, I think, for most Avatar fans, is going to be new content, please, as soon as possible, please, rather than just a retelling in live action. So, you know, that's my initial thoughts for the most part. Like, I don't really think there's anything else to say, because, as I said, there's no real substance to it. Wholly dedicated to manifesting our vision, retelling, so it's interesting, retelling. So they just use reboot when it should actually be retelling, so that's fine. Yeah, it's one of those ones where, like, I don't think I'll be doing like speculation videos or anything like this too much on this, at least until we get details. But it is an interesting thing to follow, you know, for sure. I'll check it out whenever it comes out, but right now it's like, yeah, we drew up this thing, we have an agreement. There's no details on it yet in terms of actors or anything like that. I suppose the speculation immediately would be that, like, what do they leave out? Because I get the impression they're going to have to somewhat streamline the series, and I doubt it's going to be like so many seasons that there's going to be extra to add in. This definitely feels like something where they're going to have to probably streamline stuff a bit. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see on it. So I'm very kind of mixed on this, in that while I think this probably will end up working out better than we expect, I'm never really excited for the prospect of a live action thing based on an animated thing, because especially when there's a direct comparison, I'd actually be much more for this if it was telling its own unique story. And when it really comes down to it, that's my main thought, is just that this feels like a big project. Why can't this just be like the core of a production into a new animated show, which is what the fandom cares about? I'd like to see more information about this. So yeah, kind of mixed on it. It's huge news, of course. I just don't find it particularly exciting, but it'll be interesting to see this kind of spread around, and just, there's going to be a lot of like ups and downs on this. Let's see, is there a comment section on this? Yeah, there we go, straight away. First comment: why not a prequel series or continuing on from the last one? Why do a reboot already? Yep. Or better idea if they just had ATLA and Netflix. That's an obvious one as well. Not about Korra, someone new, no thanks. I mean it well, someone last time. Yeah, like, that's about what I expected. Like, I don't really see too many people in the fandom being like super excited for this. Like, show me those people in a way right now. This could be a mess as we go through it, but it could be better than we think. So they're my initial thoughts on this. We'll see if more information comes out. We'll have more thoughts on it. Of course, the next time we get to a news podcast, we'll discuss it as well. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts on it. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.